Hello, I'm Brian Dooley, and I'd like to introduce you to my book. Warriors for the Working Day contains letters written by members of the Potter family of upstate New York. The letters reveal the human element of the American Civil War, often lost in other chronicles. They capture the growing turmoil which preceded the war, the strife of 4 years of struggle, and the long recovery of the post-war period. Two sons leave rural New York to join the Union forces, and we watch the war unfold through their eyes. We see how both the soldiers and their families cope with indefinite, suspenseful separation. The narrative focuses upon Stanley, the Potter's second eldest son, but many of the other family members have a voice here. From them we can observe how the family relationships change when one son doesn't return from battle, and how they deal with his loss. We can see how they react to the news that the war has ended, and how their lives evolve after the war. For more than 120 years, a sheaf of letters has been stored by my family, carefully passed from generation to generation, at length to be transcribed by my mother and her sister over a period of 6 or 7 years. Within these frail pages lie the tracings of a tragic tale, penned as it occurred in the home and on the battlefield. Letters so immediate that words are crossed out and tear stains remain. Letters penned in the flamboyant hand of an artist, in the neat and precise script of a matronly schoolmistress, and in the unlearned writing of a farm boy. All of these telling the tale of the Potter family of upstate New York as it passes through the Civil War. Along with the letters, a set of photographs has been preserved in an album. Here you can see the characters of this story, their appearance, mannerisms, and attire, to flesh out the narrative of this family's experience. Augusta Wiley. Aunt Augusta was Mary Wiley Potter's sister and daughter of David Wiley and Esther Noble Wiley. She worked as a teacher in the South some years before the war, writing her impressions to the relatives back home in New York. These letters kindled some of the feelings that led Edgar and Stanley to volunteer. Stanley Noble Potter. Stanley was born in 1842. Most of the narrative in these letters concerns him. He served in the 1st New York Mounted Rifles until the end of the war. Wartime experience left him in ill health. After the war, he became an artist and married Laura Cheney, and they had 6 children. Eventually, he suffered a breakdown and was confined to the State Hospital for the Insane near Buffalo until he died in 1914. Edgar Wiley Potter. Edgar was born in 1840. He was the educated, articulate, favored son. He enlisted in 1861 and died at the Battle of Cold Harbor on May 30, 1864. His death was a traumatic blow to the family and was a principal cause of Stanley's post-war emotional problems. Casa Louisa Potter. Casa was born in 1838. She was a teacher by profession and is responsible for saving all of the letters collected here. When she was young, she broke off an engagement with a man of her own age to marry her uncle Orlando, whose first wife, Hannah Levantia, had died, leaving a large family. Casa is my great-great-grandmother. She and Orlando had 2 children, my great-grandfather Edgar Vernon and Edith May. She died in 1897. Ellen Levantia Potter. Ellen was born in 1848. She married Louis King, had one daughter, and died in 1903. The only artwork that we have from Stanley is a small sketch of her. Auguste Lamont Potter. Auguste Lamont, mainly known as Lamont, was born in 1857. He married Clara Wright and they had one child. He died in 1883. Clayton Buell Potter. Clayton was born in 1852. He learned telegraphy and worked at the Post Office and Telegraph Office in Geneseo, New York. Later he became secretary of the Livingston Salt Company and finally took up insurance. He married Alice J. Wetmouth in 1876 and they had 4 children. He died in 1939. Eunice Mary Wiley Potter. Mary and Joseph Potter were the parents of the clan. They were married in 1836 and had 10 children, 7 of whom lived to maturity. Samuel Orlando Parks. Generally called Orlando, he was born in 1818 and died in 1897. He was married first to Hannah Levantia Wiley, by whom he had 3 children. When she died in February 1864, he married his niece, Casandena Potter. As an historical note, this is the Orlando after whom the Florida city was probably named. His brother-in-law was the surveyor. The letters include a pre-war description of Aunt Augusta's brief employment as a tutor on a southern plantation. As one example, on December 15, 1853, she writes, "I like the family here, only they think slavery is a divine institution, which I don't exactly. Mrs. Godwin has a plantation of 800 acres, and I do not know exactly how many slaves, perhaps 25. Cotton is raised here extensively, and they are picking it yet. Generally, picking commences in August and continues till Christmas. They put their cotton in April." Many of the letters are from Stanley. This portion was penned on July 13, 1862, on receipt of a letter from Edgar, just before Stanley enlists. "Oh, Casa, I too feel as though we might not see him again alive, or at least as well as he was before he left us. But I mustn't borrow trouble. I possibly shall, within the year, experience the rigors of soldier life. My country calls me, and shall I turn or hide to avoid the summons? No, that's not me. Shall I be so selfish and cowardly as to try to sneak like a cur from so important a mission as I may fulfill, yes, should be eager to fulfill?" In King Henry V, Shakespeare wrote, "We are but warriors for the working day. Our gayness and our guilt are all besmirched with rainy marching in the painful field." This characterizes the experience of the ordinary soldier in a great war. It is this experience and the war's effects upon a single family that I have attempted to convey by presentation of these letters in the form of an epistolary novel. The difference being that these are the real letters giving voice to the real sentiments of people at the time. And there is drama as we watch the changing fortunes of the individuals, their hopes and aspirations, and finally the gradual deterioration of an individual from the trauma of war and the death of his brother.